So in the earlier class, that is lecture number 2 on phase transition, we have seen first order phase transition, second order phase transition, higher order phase transition. So to appreciate phenomena of phase transition using some mathematical model, we would like to consider a one-dimensional spin system. So in the earlier class, we talked about one-dimensional spin system, where we have a spin, say any spin in one dimension, and there is short-range interaction in between these spins, and these we consider only nearest neighbor interaction. So these spins are arranged along a circle so that there is no boundary effect. So in the last class, we talked about up to this expression, that is partition function of n spin system, where we have written Boltzmann weight corresponding to two nearest neighbors, say SI spin and SI plus 1th spin. These are the two nearest neighbor. Corresponding that, we have possible Boltzmann weight for the spin system, where both spins are up. So when they are parallel and in the +1 direction, they are aligned along the direction of magnetic field. This is the Boltzmann corresponding to that. So this one corresponds to one spin along +1 direction, another -1 direction. So this is minus e power minus beta j, and this one is e power minus beta j, which correspond to first spin downside on second spin upside. And this last term, that is fourth term of this matrix, correspond to both spin downside. So we can determine trace of this matrix. Okay, p power n s1, bra s1 and ket s1. So this is what you have trace p power n. So we are basically determining corresponding to eigenvalue corresponding to a matrix that has element like this. So we can determine roots of this matrix. Okay, so root of this matrix is nothing but lambda 1 power n plus lambda 2 power n, that is partition function of n spin system, when the external magnetic field B, external magnetic field B is applied onto the n spin system, and all the spins are at temperature T. So this matrix we can solve to determine eigenvalue. So we have e power beta j plus mu b minus lambda, e power minus beta j, e power minus beta j, and e power minus beta j minus mu b minus lambda, that is equal to 0. Basically what you are doing, p minus lambda I, that is equal to 0. This is what you are doing here. So we have, say, this is A term, this one is B term, this one is C term, and this one D term. So this is nothing but AD minus BC. This is what we have written here. So the multiplication of A and D will give you, so minus lambda, so will give you lambda square, this term. This minus lambda multiplied with this and minus lambda multiplied with this will give you lambda e power beta j plus mu b beta plus e power beta j minus mu b beta plus e power 2 beta j, that is nothing but multiplication of these two terms, this term and this term, e power 2 beta j minus e power minus 2 beta j, that is this term bc. Okay, equal to 0. Now we can solve lambda square minus lambda e power beta j in a small bracket, e power beta mu b plus e power minus beta mu b plus e power 2 beta j minus e power minus 2 beta j, that is equal to 0. This we can solve. This it has been solved for the students of mine. So lambda, that you can write. So this is the possible roots of this equation. So minus b, so this is b, 2 cos hyperbolic beta mu b e power beta j, this is b. This term is e power 2 beta j minus e power minus 2 beta j, that is c, and the a is 1 here. So minus b plus minus b square minus 4 ac upon 2a. So 2 you can cancel, there is a 4 outside bracket, so these 4 term is there, 4, this is 1 4, this is another 4, that you can put outside the square bracket. So finally you have root of the matrix or eigenvalue of the matrix. So lambda 1 and lambda 2. So lambda 1 with positive sign, lambda 2 with negative sign. So lambda 1 is a largest root, larger root, lambda 2 smaller root. So lambda 1 upon lambda 2, see, lambda 2 upon lambda 1 is a proper fraction. Lambda 2 upon lambda 1 is a proper fraction, where so n goes to infinity, lambda 2 upon lambda 1 will go to 0, and lambda 1 upon lambda 2 will be a dominant term that will govern behavior of this q and bt, that is lambda 1 power n. So lambda 1 is very, very large in comparison to lambda 2 power n. That's why your partition function is nothing but lambda 1 power n. This is what we have written here. Okay, so we have lambda 1 power n that we can write as a partition function of your n spin pairs. So 1 upon n you can write for single spin pair partition function of your system. So from there you can determine free energy. Minus kT log of q and bt will give you free energy. Minus kT log of q and bt, that is nothing but Helmholtz free energy, that is minus nj. From there, so this term lambda 1, so you are taking log of it, so log of it will give you beta j. Okay, beta j, kT is there, kT and beta cancelled out, so what you have now, nj only, first term, minus kT was there, so minus nj first term. Therefore remaining term of this, and the remaining term you are writing in the within log symbol. So this is what you have here, within log symbol you have remaining term, minus n kT you have written, lambda 1 power n is there, so n is outside, minus kT, so this is minus n kT log of this term. So this is what your Helmholtz free energy. Once you have Helmholtz free energy, you can determine all the relevant thermodynamic parameter of your n spin system in presence of external magnetic field. For example, you can determine energy of your n spin system, interaction energy of your n spin system in presence of external magnetic field and at temperature T. This is what you have. So this is nothing but derivative of beta of beta A, or so internal energy of your n spin system nothing but minus T square divided by T of A by T. So A by T is this much. You can take derivative with respect to T, this term. It is nothing but minus nj minus this term plus this term. This I have determined for you. You all verify your own and determine specific heat of this n spin system and plot it with respect to temperature. This is assignment for you all. Now average magnetic you can determine by taking derivative of your Helmholtz free energy with respect to B, external magnetic field. Okay, you can take derivative of this Helmholtz free energy with respect to B. So there is no B, so it is 0. But this term it contains B and this term contains B. So this term also 0 when you take derivative with respect to B. This is what we have, n kT beta. See, you are taking derivative, so this is 0. So now n kT log of there, so you are taking derivative with respect to B. This, so this term within square bracket is now in the denominator. This is what we are writing here. So this term in the square bracket, that is in the denominator, because you are taking derivative with respect to B. Okay, therefore you are taking derivative of this term, cos hyperbolic beta mu B, so you have sin hyperbolic beta mu B. Further derivative of this beta mu B will give you beta mu. This is what we have. Okay, this is what we have, n kT beta mu sin hyperbolic beta mu B. This is the differentiation of this term. Now this term, okay, curly bracket 1 by 2 is there, so you take derivative, so you will have 1 by 2, then curly bracket term in the denominator with the square root symbol. So this is what you have, 1 by 2, this term in the denominator with the square root symbol. Thereafter you take derivative of sin hyperbolic of square, derivative of sin hyperbolic of square beta mu B. This is what we have, 2 sin hyperbolic beta mu B, cos hyperbolic beta mu B. Thereafter derivative of beta mu B, that will give you beta mu. This you can simplify and you can get value of magnetization, average magnetization of an spin system at temperature T when there is external magnetic field B. This is what we have, this value, magnetization of your spin system. So from here you can appreciate your own that when B is 0, average magnetization is 0. So there is no phase transition provided T is non-zero. So in a one-dimensional spin system there is no phase transition possible at zero temperature. At non-zero temperature, there is no possibility of phase transition in the n-spin system. Always remember. This is mainly because fluctuation will always dominate. You remember, fluctuation in one dimension will always win. Now, this term, matrix susceptibility, you can determine taking derivative of this array magnetization with respect to B when T is tending to 0. You have n mu square kt, n mu square upon kt e power 2 beta j. So this you can plot. This is what you have. Susceptibility. So average magnetization, number of spins, the saturation value of magnetization, that is +1 and a -1. From there you can appreciate that when T0, the all spin can be aligned to upward direction, that will correspond to +1 value of average magnetization. All spin are pointing towards downward side, are opposite to the direction of external magnetic field, that is corresponding to magnetization -1. So this is another possibility. This will happen at T0. There is T0. You can expect to have phase transition from para to ferro in a one-dimensional spin system. That is physically, practically not possible. So T0 phase transition is possible theoretically in the case of one-dimensional spin system. But at non-T0 value, you don't have any phase transition. You can see other thing. This is the plot of magnetization curve. Various possibility of interaction beta j 0, beta j greater than 0. This you can appreciate your own. Now magnetic susceptibility at 0 magnetic field. This is what you have value. Okay, this you can see from there. Chi has tending to infinity. When t goes to 0, this jump is there. Because of the step function, when take derivative with respect to b, you will find it is diverging at this point t0. This is what you can appreciate from this graph. You can determine energy at t external magnetic field 0. It has this value, this much value. You verify your own. And also specific heat, external magnetic field 0 has this much value. You can plot it with respect to this specific heat per spin system with respect to temperature. It has this kind of plot scaled with spin-spin interaction. So this is what your one-dimensional phase transition. There are some more things you should learn your own for one-dimensional spin system. However, if you ask more question, I will answer your reply to your answers, and I will give you more details of this phase transition behavior in a system, variety of system, provided you dare to ask questions. Okay, this is what we have one-dimensional spin system.